Gary Cooper names 7 gay actors he hated most who secretly dated him. Early life of Gary Cooper. Gary Cooper, born as Frank James Cooper on May 7, 1901, in Helena, Montana, came from a family rooted in English heritage. His father, Charles Henry Cooper, served as a justice on the Montana Supreme Court, while his mother, Alice Cooper, was a cultured and educated woman who emphasized sophistication and learning. Growing up on the family's sprawling ranch, young Cooper quickly became adept at horseback riding, developing the kind of athleticism and natural poise that would later define his cinematic identity. Spending his formative years amidst the sweeping Montana landscapes fostered in him a deep sense of independence and quiet resolve, traits that became signature elements in his later on-screen roles. During his teen years, Cooper was sent overseas to study at Dunstable Grammar School in England. Following the conclusion of World War I, he returned to Montana and eventually enrolled at Grinnell College in Iowa. Though he initially pursued a career in commercial art, life had other plans. After a car accident left him with a leg injury, Cooper left college and relocated to Los Angeles in the mid-1920s with hopes of working as an illustrator. Unexpected rise in Hollywood. It was in Los Angeles that Gary Cooper stumbled into the world of cinema, which was rapidly expanding thanks to the silent film boom. He began his journey in Hollywood working as an extra and stuntman, particularly in westerns, where his horsemanship and striking presence caught attention. Cooper's breakout moment came in 1926 when he appeared in The Winning of Barbara Worth. Though his role was brief, it was powerful enough to grab the interest of filmmakers and critics alike. With his statuesque frame, he stood an impressive 6 feet 3 inches, and mesmerizing blue eyes, Cooper quickly separated himself from the crowd of aspiring actors. As the silent era gave way to sound films in the late 1920s, many stars struggled to adapt, but Cooper transitioned with ease. His role in The Virginian, 1929, one of the earliest successful sound westerns, helped solidify his style. Subdued, emotionally rich, and deeply authentic. Hollywood stardom and acting style. Throughout the 1930s and 1940s, Gary Cooper emerged as one of Hollywood's most sought-after leading men. He built his legacy playing characters who embodied humility, bravery, and moral strength. In 1936, he starred in Frank Capra's Mr. Deeds Goes to Town, portraying a principled small-town man who takes on the world of wealth and power, a performance that won him immense praise. One of his most acclaimed performances came in Sergeant York, 1941, where he depicted World War I hero Alvin York. The film was both a box office and critical triumph, and Cooper earned his first Academy Award for Best Actor for the role. His versatility as an actor became evident in later films such as The Pride of the Yankees, 1942, where he played legendary baseball player Lou Gehrig, and The Westerner, 1940, which blended elements of film noir and the Western genre. Perhaps his most enduring role came in 1952 with the release of High Noon. In this suspenseful Western, Cooper portrayed Marshal Will Kane, a man abandoned by his town as he faces deadly outlaws alone. The role was a showcase of restrained, powerful acting and won Cooper his second Academy Award for Best Actor. The film was also seen as a metaphor for the Red Scare and the climate of fear under McCarthyism, reinforcing Cooper's image as a symbol of personal integrity and quiet courage. Decline in health and final films. By the late 1950s, Gary Cooper began to suffer from declining health. Though he continued acting in movies such as Friendly Persuasion, 1956, and The Hanging Tree, 1959, he was privately fighting a battle with prostate cancer that eventually metastasized to his lungs and bones. Despite his illness, Cooper kept his condition a closely guarded secret and continued to work as long as he was physically able. His final performance was in The Naked Edge, 1961, which was released after his death and marked the end of an illustrious film career that had spanned more than 30 years and over 80 films. Marriage and family life. In 1933, Gary Cooper married Veronica Balfe, a refined and graceful woman from New York's high society, who had briefly worked in Hollywood under the stage name Sandra Shaw. A devout Roman Catholic, Veronica was also the niece of Cedric Gibbons, a legendary art director at MGM who helped create the iconic Oscar statuette. Despite her aristocratic background, Veronica pursued acting for a short time in the early 1930s, appearing in films such as No Other Woman, 1933, and King Kong, 1933, where she held a small role. Her serene charm and elegance distinguished her from the more flamboyant starlets of her era, and it may have been this contrast that attracted the reserved Cooper to her. Their wedding became a high-profile affair that drew attention from both the entertainment industry and New York's upper crust. Following their marriage, Veronica gave up her acting career to focus on family life. Together, they had one daughter, Maria Veronica Cooper, born in 1937. Known for being emotionally reserved, Gary Cooper held a deep affection for his daughter, often expressing his love and pride in interviews. Even with the demands of his career frequently taking him away from home, Cooper made deliberate efforts to be an involved and caring father. Thanks to Veronica's protective nature, Maria was largely kept away from the limelight and enjoyed a childhood of relative normalcy despite her father's fame. Although Maria Cooper's early life was shaped largely by her own pursuits, the undeniable legacy of her famous father gradually influenced her journey. As she grew older, Maria developed a profound respect for Gary Cooper's work and his personal code of ethics. Her admiration eventually led her to pen a heartfelt tribute, Gary Cooper, Enduring Style, which honored not only his cinematic achievements, but also his modest sophistication and unwavering integrity. However, the seemingly serene marriage between Gary Cooper and his wife Veronica began to disintegrate in the late 1940s. Despite maintaining a public image as a loyal husband and model father, Cooper was known in Hollywood for his womanizing ways. He carried on numerous extramarital affairs over the years, carefully concealed behind his reputation. The most intense and ultimately damaging of these romances was with actress Patricia Neal, whom he met during the filming of The Fountainhead in 1949. At the time, Neal was nearly a quarter-century younger than Cooper, and their passionate relationship evolved into a prolonged and stormy affair. It is said that Cooper found himself torn between the deep affection he felt for Neal and his responsibilities as a husband and father. Neal, completely devoted to him, was even willing to risk her burgeoning career to be by his side. Their clandestine love affair became an open secret in the entertainment industry, putting immense pressure on Cooper's already strained marriage. By 1951, the emotional toll had grown too heavy to bear. Cooper and Veronica officially separated, and he moved into a different home, though they never pursued a legal divorce. Despite his feelings for Neal, Cooper ultimately refused to sever marital ties with Veronica, primarily due to his concern for the welfare and upbringing of their daughter, Maria. He believed that divorcing would contradict his Catholic principles and potentially devastate his relationship with his daughter, something he was unwilling to risk. Racked by guilt and inner turmoil, Cooper ended his relationship with Neal, leaving her emotionally shattered. Years later, Neal would speak openly about the heartbreak she endured, describing their time together as among the most agonizing periods of her life. In the aftermath of this painful chapter, Cooper began to re-examine his personal values and placed a renewed focus on family. In 1955, after 4 years apart, Gary and Veronica quietly reconciled. Their reunion was private and understated, but deeply meaningful. The couple resumed their shared life, slipping back into the familiar routines they had once enjoyed. Around this time, Cooper, who had long maintained a distant relationship with organized religion, started to embrace the Roman Catholic faith practiced by his wife and daughter. This spiritual renewal deepened in his later years, particularly as he began to face significant health issues. Throughout his illness, Veronica remained by his side, offering unwavering support and helping him find spiritual comfort and peace as his life neared its end. Their daughter Maria also stayed closely connected, and despite the challenges brought on by fame, infidelity, and years of estrangement, the family bond proved unbreakable. Behind the Hollywood legend, hidden affairs and private torments. In the shimmering spotlight of Hollywood's golden age, few stars matched the iconic stature of Gary Cooper. With his tall frame, reserved demeanor, and rugged good looks, he came to embody the archetypal American man on screen. Yet behind this public persona was a man grappling with deep personal complexities. Whispers long circulated in Hollywood that Cooper led a secret life filled with same-sex relationships. Allegations that only gained traction following the discovery of an alleged posthumous memoir draft found in a locked trunk at his Montana home. The writings allegedly unearthed from that trunk portray a tormented individual wrestling with secrets, betrayal, and regret. Within those pages, Cooper reportedly named 7 men with whom he had intimate connections, only to later grow distant from, or even come to despise, each one. Among these rumored partners were some of the most recognizable figures of the era. 1. Carrie Grant, the Pretender. One of the era's most suave and sophisticated stars, Carrie Grant was always composed in front of the camera. According to writings attributed to Cooper, their brief romance began during a film festival in Palm Springs in the late 1930s. "He laughed at everything I said," Cooper supposedly wrote, "and it felt real until it didn't." Although their relationship never surfaced publicly, it may have been filled with intensity, secrecy, and eventual betrayal. Grant, ever protective of his carefully crafted image, allegedly ended things abruptly after the two were seen together by a gossip columnist. "He ran from me faster than any outlaw I ever portrayed," Cooper reportedly lamented. What hurt most, he claimed, was Grant's cold denial afterward, acting as if nothing had ever happened between them. 2. Rock Hudson. The illusion. Though they belonged to different generations of Hollywood stardom, Cooper and Rock Hudson often found themselves crossing paths in the 1950s. Cooper, then in his early 50s, was apparently entranced by the younger actor, whom he described as a Greek statue brought to life, but the infatuation soon gave way to disillusionment. According to the memoir, Hudson wanted their interactions to remain in the shadows. "He'd charm me all night and ignore me by morning, like I was just a one-night stand stretched out over a year," Cooper allegedly reflected. Their relationship deteriorated into alienation, with Cooper eventually condemning Hudson's dual life not merely as a symptom of societal pressure, but as an act of personal cowardice. 3. Randolph Scott. The rival. Frequently photographed together during the heyday of Hollywood westerns, Gary Cooper and Randolph Scott were known companions off-screen. But behind the scenes, their alleged relationship was complicated by professional rivalry and emotional entanglements. Scott, also rumored to have had a romantic involvement with Carrie Grant, may have found himself torn between both leading men. In his supposed writings, Cooper referred to Scott as the one who played me better than I ever played a role. The bond they shared in the 1940s was reportedly deep, but jealousy soon reared its head, particularly when Scott was cast in roles that Cooper desired. Reflecting on the pain of both professional and personal loss, Cooper wrote, "I didn't just lose a role, I lost a reason to trust." 4. Anthony Perkins. The Projection. An unexpected connection unfolded between Gary Cooper and Anthony Perkins, a young actor known for his reserved and introspective nature. Despite a considerable age gap, the two reportedly shared a brief but passionate relationship during the mid-1950s. Perkins, widely recognized for his later role in Psycho, possessed a quiet intellect and bashfulness that allegedly captivated Cooper. "He reminded me of the man I used to be before Hollywood chewed me up," Cooper supposedly penned in his private reflections. However, the relationship took a painful turn. Perkins, consumed by anxiety about being exposed, is said to have withdrawn, leaving Cooper feeling rejected and emotionally wounded. "He projected all his fear onto me and cast me as the villain in his own narrative," Cooper wrote. The bitterness lingered, not over the separation itself, but because Cooper believed he had been exploited as a temporary emotional support during Perkins's internal struggle. 5. Montgomery Clift. The Mirror. Perhaps the most emotionally intense of Cooper's alleged affairs was with fellow actor Montgomery Clift. Their bond, according to Cooper, was deeply profound, like gazing into a mirror that forced him to confront uncomfortable truths. However, it was this same emotional depth that may have ultimately undone them. Clift's personal demons, driven by trauma and substance abuse, reportedly placed immense strain on their connection. "Loving Monty was like embracing barbed wire. You bleed, but still don't want to let go," Cooper once wrote. As time went on, Cooper allegedly grew to resent Clift for dragging him into a pit of sorrow, and for showing him an image of himself that he had long tried to ignore, a man trapped in denial. 6. Tab Hunter. The Rebound. Following the emotional toll of his previous entanglements, Cooper is believed to have briefly turned to Tab Hunter, a striking, golden-haired rising star. Their affair, if Cooper's alleged notes are to be believed, was fleeting and more about solace than substance. He was stunning, sure, but empty inside. "I needed healing. He wanted headlines," Cooper allegedly reflected. The disparity in their needs and maturity, compounded by another noticeable age gap, made the relationship feel transactional. Hunter, at the brink of stardom, was said to be more interested in career leverage than emotional intimacy. "He kissed like he was studying for a test," Cooper quipped bitterly. Their tryst ended on a sour note, with Cooper accusing Hunter of leaking information to the tabloids, though this was never substantiated. 7. James Dean. The Fire. The most shocking and perhaps most tragic name on Cooper's supposed list of lovers was James Dean. If their affair did occur, it would have taken place shortly before Dean's fatal car crash in 1955. Cooper allegedly described their liaison as intense, chaotic, and unforgettable. Dean's rebellious energy both intrigued and infuriated Cooper. "He acted like the world owed him something, and I gave him more than I should have," he wrote. What haunted Cooper most wasn't the end of their relationship, it was the abruptness of Dean's death. "He took away my chance to hate him to his face," Cooper lamented. Whether real or romanticized, this loss seemed to echo deeply in Cooper's private writings, which remained unpublished and unspoken during his lifetime. The quiet struggles behind the legend. Throughout his life, Gary Cooper never publicly addressed any of these rumored relationships. Whether the alleged notes are authentic or fictionalized, they present a portrait of a man caught between the stoic image he portrayed on screen and the emotional turmoil he may have lived in secret. If these stories are true, they illuminate the immense loneliness and self-sacrifice endured by those forced to hide their truth behind the dazzling facade of Hollywood. Admired for his strength and restraint, Cooper may have privately borne emotional burdens far heavier than any role he played on screen. In the stillness of his Montana sanctuary, perhaps he finally found the courage to express what societal pressures had silenced for so long, that love, for all its beauty, had left him with more sorrow than joy, more memories than comfort, and a list not of lovers, but of heartbreaks. Gary Cooper's final days. In 1961, the world bid farewell to Gary Cooper, one of Hollywood's most iconic and beloved stars, as he passed away at the age of 60. His death came after a prolonged battle with prostate cancer, a condition he had attempted to manage privately, but one that eventually spread to his bones and lungs. As the illness progressed, the strong and commanding figure once seen in films like High Noon, Sergeant York, and Mr. Deeds Goes to Town grew physically diminished. For friends and family, it was heart-wrenching to witness the decline of a man who had symbolized American resilience. Despite his deteriorating health, Cooper faced his final chapter with remarkable poise. Known for his aversion to publicity, he maintained his composure and privacy, even in the face of death. During his last months, Cooper was surrounded by his devoted wife, Veronica "Rocky" Balfe, and their daughter Maria. As news of his condition became public, tributes from across the film industry began to pour in. Among those grieving was Ernest Hemingway, a close friend, who expressed deep sorrow at the loss of such a powerful cinematic figure.